हमने क्या किया था? We have finished Hannah Arendt, right? Yes, we have done. We have done Hannah Arendt. And yesterday I had given you task to work her idea on vita activa. So, talks about activa and vita conjunctiva. That is live work. I have already discussed it. Fine, she covered it by your own. कल हमने डिस्कस कर लिया, बस उसमें से लिख लेना है आपको. Just you have to note it down. And her idea on freedom. For Hannah is, mentality. Mentality means, free to do, bring new idea, new debate, right? Free to start a new debate. Right? New action, new deliberation. And she said that mentality is not allowed in totalitarian state. In totalitarian state, people don't have a right to initiate a new debate, new idea. You have to go along with the totalitarian regime, right? Their idea about good. Fine. So वो भी लिखा हुआ है that you have to also note down. कुछ ज़्यादा नहीं है इसमें. I'll come to ideology. What is the ideology? We'll come when we'll finish this entire ideology: liberalism, socialism, feminism, and fascism. Then I'll come to talk about what is ideology. How we talked about what Marx thinks about ideology. He thinks about ideology as a false consciousness. You remember? But Lenin said no, ideology is very important. Right? Gramsci has also seen different concept on ideology. Right? Now if you look at Karl Popper or Hannah Arendt, both are very against our ideology. Hannah Arendt and Karl Popper. Right? Open society and its enemy. So Karl Popper said ideology is a closed society because they think ideology as the ultimate truth. Right? Hannah Arendt was also very against ideology. Right? So if you look at in Europe, there was a different ideology: fascism, Nazism, liberalism, communism. Right? Are you getting my point? So if you look at the interwar period मतलब क्या बोल रहा हूँ मैं? 1919 से 1939. Interwar period means time after the World War and just before the Second World War. This was the interwar period. And this is called interwar period. Right? Now if you look at this, there was a fascism, there was a Nazism, there was a liberalism, there was a communism, there was a different ideology. Right? But if you look at after 1999, after World War II, right? There's only two dominant ideologies that remain, and competed each other. That was, what was that? Or communism. And communism. They compete each other. They compete from each other, right? And try to, establish their supremacy. They confronted each other. That we could known as Cold War, right? If you look at in 1960, by 1960, there was one book by Daniel Bell, and he said there's an end of ideology. Why there's an end of ideology? Because each state, whether it is communism or capitalism, they are focusing on economic growth, right, and industrialization. Right, so ideology and belief, faith became irrelevant for them. What is the primary things? Focus is industrial development, right? Economic growth, prosperity, right? So we are living the end of ideology, right? If you look at 1990, what happened? Communism collapsed. And Soviet Union actually disintegrated. There was the end of Cold War. And one author again revived this idea, end of ideology. His name was Francis Fukuyama. We will talk about it later. Ideology, end of ideology. Now, today I talk about कुछ नहीं बात है, ये सब भूल लो जो बताया मैंने. Today we will talk about that we want to discuss today. Fine. So you all know that liberalism is a meta ideology. What do you mean with meta ideology? It is a grand ideology. And it developed in 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th century. It took long, 300 years ago, 300 years to evolve as an ideology. Fine. What is the basic idea of liberalism? What is the basic idea of liberalism? You remember John Locke. John Locke is called the father of liberalism. Fine, आशीष आ गया, आशीष नहीं आया बेटा. What John Locke talks about, he talks about individual rational. I'm writing man is rational, what he said. क्या कहा उसने? Man is a rational being. Right? He is a self-reliant. Right? He has a reason. He knows his interests and he should be free. And is a rational being, a self-reliant, right? A best judge of his interest, best judge of his own interest. And therefore he should be free, or he is free. Nature has given, freedom and equality to man. Yeah, got the idea? Now, if you look at this idea was, flourished, and there are many philosophers like John Bentham, Adam Smith, J.S. Mill, expanded, Herbert Spencer expanded the idea, this idea of liberalism. Fine. The core value of liberalism was liberty. Core value of liberalism is liberty, right? And as you know, John Locke emphasis on liberty, or J.S. Mill emphasis on liberty. Both give very emphasis on liberty, how liberty is good in itself. Right? Only free people can do excellent in his life. Right? Freedom is good for individual, freedom is good for society, freedom is good for state. That's just meant. Right? So this was the first, meta-ideology, and you know that this ideology emerged from transformation from the feudalism to capitalism. Right? This is the first modern ideology that evolved, and took birth from feudalism to capitalism. Got the idea? इतना पता चला क्या है बेसिक आइडिया लिबरलिज्म का? नीलेश जितना अभी तक बताया, अश्विन, अर्जुन, आदर, अश्विन, ख्याति, नीलेश, शोभे।
Yes sir, पता चला, बड़ा आइडिया लगा।
क्या नीलेश क्लियर है कुछ क्या?
Yes sir.
इधर है, अच्छा ठीक। अब now if you talk about, अभी कुछ लिखना ना, कुछ भी नहीं लिखना है, कुछ भी नहीं। Now if you talk about liberalism, now this idea, a set of beliefs, or not to see the world, right? What is the ideology? It has perspective on man. It has perspective on man. What is man? It has perspective on society. What is society? It has perspective on state. What is a state? Right? It has perspective on rights. Right? Yeah, it has perspective on liberty. Right? It has perspective on equality. It has perspective on equality. It has perspective on economy. Now you can see an idea which explains everything, which explains man, nature of man, which explains society, which explains state, which explains rights, which explains economy, which explains equality, which explains liberty, which can explain government, which explains government. Right? Now you can see liberalism is a lens. Right? Which explains everything. Right? It is a one perspective to look at something. For example, anything that you can look from this perspective. Got the idea? Now we will talk about one by one. Man, society, state, rights, economy, individual, anything that you can explain. Now we look at, how liberals look at. I told you that liberal thinks that man is a self-reliant, rational human being, is the best judge, and that's why he does not want any society or state to control on himself. Right? He is free as he wishes, as he values. मुझे लगता है एप्पल खाना है, मैं एप्पल खाऊंगा. If you want, to eat mango, eat mango. Got the idea? Man is a rational being. He is self-reliant. He is also egoist, little bit, right? And he knows what is best interest of what is best his interest, and he should be allowed to pursue that interest. Neither society nor state should come and intervene in his action. What the idea about his what human nature, they talks about man is a rational being. Right? They are cooperative. इतना समझ में आया ह्यूमन नेचर क्या है, एक्सप्लेन कैसे करता है इन्होंने? Man is or cooperate also and compete also, both. ठीक है? They cooperate and they compete also. Fine. Now come to the society. Now, if you look at liberal perspective of society, society is an amalgamation of man. What is society? Society is an amalgamation of man. Right? Amalgamation of man and family, isn't it? Right? So you see the atomistic perspective. Right? It is a conglomeration of man. And man is prior to society. Society has no authority to impose something on individual. Society should cooperate with individual in his action. But no right, society has no authority to impose something on individual. Making sense about society? Yeah, you can answer. You can make a chart little and then you can, depends on the question, depend of the question. मैं तो ये समझाने के लिए थोड़ा सा बना लिया, ठीक है? अदरवाइज पैराग्राफ में लिखवाऊंगा, टेंशन मत लो, सब अदरवाइज यू कैन मैं बट आप यहाँ पे नहीं लिख सकते, आप ये सब को बना सकते हैं, राइट? Right? Society got the idea how liberals thinks about the society. Yeah. So what is society? Society is a conglomeration of man and the family. Right? Society should cooperate but not impose any decision on an individual. Why? Because individual is a rational being. Individual is a rational being. He or she knows what is his best interest. He is the best judge of his own interest. And that's what society should not impose. Rather than, so society should cooperate in individual's objective. Now come to the state. What do you think about the state? Liberal thinks that the state is a necessary evil. State is a necessary evil. Why it is a necessary evil? Why it is a necessary? Because state of nature. Lock in the state of nature. The state of nature was good. People were cooperative, but it was not also, we cannot stay in that state of nature. Right? We need a state. Why do we need a state? As per law. Yeah.
Because when man judges, then he becomes harsh.
Exactly. So when man, judges about his personal relation, when man becomes judge in his personal, dispute, then he becomes partial. So we have created an impartial. It is a necessity, and it is an evil. Why it is an evil? Because the state always try to control individuals' liberty. That's why that's why it is an evil. Right? So there is one author. His name was Thomas Paine. यहाँ पे Thomas Paine लिखा गया है, इसको Thomas Paine बना देना अपनी किताब में. Right? Who said that in the state is a necessary evil. Right? A state should be limited. What the state should be? A state should be limited. And if you look like society, state cannot impose some arbitrary action, arbitrary policy on individual. No. Right? For example, a state cannot impose tax without the consent of the people. Right? A state must be like an umpire, like a referee of the game. Right? A state is like a night watchman. Like does. He remains very neutral. neutral until there is some suspension, isn't it? Or a referee or umpire of the game, he remains neutral, isn't it? So a state should remain a neutral entity, right? It must regulate the behavior, but it must remain neutral, should not bias to someone. समझ में आ रहा है? ठीक है? So a state should be a minimal state, a laissez-faire state, right? कम से कम बहुत limited. And state क्यों necessary है? क्योंकि safety कौन देगा? Security कौन देगा? State ही देगा. Who will provide security, safeguard, stability, order in the society? It's the state, and that's why state is necessary, right? It is an evil. Why? Because the state tends to control individual liberty, right? And it should, the state should be a limited government. State का मतलब पता चला? Clear? Making some sense? Yeah. Now come to rights. Beliefs on rights. They believe that human or individual has certain inalienable rights. Human beings have certain inalienable rights. For example, if you talk about the law, it says right to life, liberty, and property. You know what? Law. This right is inalienable. Ashish, नहीं आया बेटा? Got the idea? If you talk about J.S. Mill, he said, in self-regarding action, individual has a right to do everything. Right? Now come to liberty. But liberty is equality. Liberty. Not to talk about liberals, liberty is more value of liberals. He said individual liberty should be intact with individual. No one should take responsibility about individual liberty. The state should not behave like paternalistic parent, right? And the individual can do best when he is at liberty, right? A generous person can perform best when he is at liberty, right? Got the idea? Now come to equality. Liberals believes in two types of equality. One is equality of opportunity. Liberals believe that everyone should have equal opportunity. Me, you, all are equal, right? So there should be no biasness. State should not do bias. तुझे रिजर्वेशन दे दिया, ऐसे दे दिया, वैसे दे दिया, लेडीज के लिए अलग से सीट बना दिया. No. Since we all are equal, right? Equal, right? And there should be equality before the law. Equality before law. Before law, all are equal. Whether male, female, rich or poor, there should be no difference. Right? So liberals believe two types of equality of opportunity and equality of the law. Right? सब बराबर है. Now let me talk about economy. Liberals think, laissez-faire capitalism or laissez-faire state or free market capitalism. Now if you look at liberalism, the common basis is free market capitalism. Liberals believe that market regulates itself Adam Smith says market regulates itself and state should not come to regulate market. Right? Market is being regulated by through invisible hand. It always tends to equalize. Right? Market allow people to work on as a merit. So those who will have merit will get more from the market. Those who will have less merit will get less wage. Isn't it? For example, if someone is an engineer, market will allow them to, to higher wage. If someone is non-skilled worker, then market will get less wage. Isn't it? So market is a self-independent regulating body. State does not need to regulate it. Got the idea? Market does best when market lets alone. Right? मार्केट कब बेटर करता है जब वो अकेला उसको छोड़ दिया जाए, उसको रेगुलेशन करने की जरूरत नहीं है. Got the idea? Now come to government. Right? Liberals believe that a best form of government is representative government. What government? Democratic. Democracy. Representative democracy based on election, fair election, consent, based on consent, right? Constitution. Free and fair election, consent, constitution, rule of law, right? Impartial judiciary, and that would be the best form of government. Really. Got the idea? Now again at the chart and then try to understand. If you have any confusion, just tell me. The liberals and their belief on human nature, the nature of man, their understanding of society, their understanding of state, rights, liberty, equality, economy, government, anything. But justice, yeah. They believe in distributed justice and they believe that market does a best justice. Right? So market distributes itself. The state should not come to for distribution. Market distributes. I was giving an example that if people are professionals, they will get that type of job. If people are workers, they will get that type of job. Right? So they believe in distributed justice. Right? And believe in merit. Believe in merit. Everyone will get as per according to their merit. Right? So here you can see equality of opportunity. UPSC, there should be no reservation, equality of opportunity. Everyone should be allowed to fill the form. जिसको merit होगा वो अपना ले जाएगा. Isn't it? Yeah. Any confusion? They believe in distributed justice. Fine. And who does best distribution? Market. Now, any confusion? Shobhed, Nilesh, Khyati, Ashwin, Arjun. अब मैं इसको लिखवाऊंगा. जितने पॉइंट मैंने बताया है, I will dictate. But idea little bit, थोड़ा पता चला. अब जो देखो, ना, don't miss the class. At least until theory. Let me finish the theory. Right, the part A now. For the next 25 days. 25 days approximately, and then you can miss, right, 1 or 2 classes. Fine. ठीक है, मत मिस करिए तो दिक्कत हो जाएगी, ठीक है। और सर इन फ्री मार्केट कैपिटलिज्म देयर इज नो इंटरफेरेंस ऑफ स्टेट एंड सोसाइटी, राइट? या मार्केट में कोई इंटरवेंशन नहीं चाहिए, और वो भी चाहिए बहुत ही मिनिमल। लॉ एंड ऑर्डर मेंटेन करना है मार्केट में तो चाहिए, मार्केट में झगड़ा ना हो जाए, मार्केट में एनफोर्स कॉन्ट्रैक्ट होना चाहिए। मान लीजिए मेरे और प्लूटस के बीच में कॉन्ट्रैक्ट है, प्लूटस ने मुझे डिच कर दिया, तो उसको रिजॉल्व कौन करेगा? स्टेट करेगा, राइट? सो स्टेट शुड इंटरवीन बट मिनिमल, राइट? एंड देयर आर ओनली 3 वर्ड्स फॉर द स्टेट: मेंटेन लॉ एंड ऑर्डर, right? Provide security to people, and third, to enforce contract. To enforce contract, whatever contract people have their market. It doesn't mean people will go without violating law. No, जिसको जैसा मन हो वैसे नहीं. There is no license. There is a difference between liberty and license, right? Yeah, so free market capitalism given by Adam Smith or Locke. Free market capitalism is a product of the entire idea of liberalism, right? Now, if you talk about Adam Smith, basically Adam Smith was an economist, you all know. John Locke was a philosopher, right? So it was Adam Smith who had given laissez-faire state. It means state should intervene minimal in the market, right? And market should be free from state intervention and state regulation. ठीक है? Ashwin got the idea laissez-faire. Laissez-faire मतलब स्टेट को कम से कम इंटरवीन करना है मार्केट में। क्या थी? पता चला क्या बोला मैंने? अभी तक जो बातें हुई है क्लियर है ना? पक्का? इज इट क्लियर? पक्का? नाउ लिबरलिज्म। Right, this is the first political ideology. Liberalism, this is the first political ideology. This is the first political ideology evolved during transition from feudalism to capitalism. Evolved during some transition from feudalism to capitalism. It is a first meta-ideology. It is the first meta-ideology which absorbed a set of beliefs and values which are diverse in nature. Liberalism flourished in the industrialized Western society. Liberalism flourished in the industrialized Western society and adopted broad range of values. It started journey with John Locke with John Locke bracket father of liberalism. It started its journey from John Locke bracket father of liberalism bracket close, and redefined and reshaped by Adam Smith, Jeremy Bentham, Adam Smith, Jeremy Bentham, Herbert Spencer, J.S. Mill, T.H. Green, Lusky, नाम J.S. Mill का नाम लिख देना, J.S. Mill, Lusky, T.H. Green, Robert Nozick, Milton Friedman, John Rawls, and many more. Fine. Livia, Dan, Shobhit, Raghav, Nilesh, Kathy, Ashwin, Arjun. Very. Now we write core value of liberalism. Core value liberalism का right? Liberty is a core value. If you look at from feudalism to capitalism transformation, there were many references I had given you while before I taught you Thomas Hobbes. For example, Renaissance, Reformation. Do you remember? Transformation of science and technology, innovation, right? Empirical inquiry, all contributed in the development of liberalism. All contributed, right? Renaissance, Enlightenment, all contributed in the evolution of and development of liberalism, right? Now, liberalism is divided. Liberalism can be divided broadly into three parts. Classical liberalism, right? Classical liberalism, then modern liberalism, and third is neoliberalism. Yeah. Neoliberalism. Fine. अच्छा, इसके एक्सपोनेंट मैंने आपको लिखवा दिए। क्या है इसका एक्सपोनेंट कौन सा है? इसका जॉन, उसके बाद एडम, जॉन बैंथम, जेसन। फाइन। अब थोड़ा क्लासिकल लिबरलिज्म के बारे में, जो मैंने ऊपर बताया था, ये सब क्लासिकल लिबरलिज्म का, राइट? नाउ राइट फीचर्स ऑफ क्लासिकल लिबरलिज्म। features of classical liberals. Or perspective of classical liberals. Or elements of classical liberals. To be first, we talk about man or human nature. Human nature. देखो अगले 3 क्लास में जो भी आएंगे ना वो कुछ समझ में नहीं आएगा। आशीष नहीं है, अभी इतना जुड़ा हुआ है मॉडर्न लिबरल, न्यू लिबरल, उनको समझ में नहीं आएगा। अच्छा ह्यूमन नेचर के बारे में क्या कहता है, मैन के बारे में क्या कहते हैं लिबरल्स, क्लासिकल लिबरल्स? मैन इज रैशनल बीइंग। देखिए फॉर लिबरल्स मैन इज a rational being. For liberals, man is a rational being, right? And self-reliant. He knows what is right and what is wrong. He knows what is right and what is wrong. Therefore, it does not require external authority like church, society, or state. Therefore, it does not require external authority like church, state, or society to determine his conduct. Liberalism believes in autonomy of the self. Autonomy of the self. Right? Man has right to liberty. Man has right to life, liberty, and property. And man has right to life, liberty, and property. And he has every right to pursue his interest. He has every right to pursue his interest. Neither society, nor religion, nor state neither society, nor religion, nor state has authority to limit the freedom of individual. Neither society, nor religion, nor state has authority to limit the freedom of individual. कितना तगड़ा इंडिविजुअल देता है, फ्रीडम देता है इंडिविजुअल को. Right? Now we will talk about what they understand about society. Their perspective on society. Right? Liberals gives priority to liberal beliefs ऐसे मत लेना, ये लिखो. He believes that society is congregation of man and his family. Liberal believes that society is congregation of man and his society. Man is prior to society. Man is prior to society. Man is prior to society. Because society is part of social contract. Society is the product of, you remember law? Society is the product of social contract. Right? Fine. So man is prior to the society. ये बहुत ही important line है. Why? Because what is society? Society is a product of social contract. What is state? State is a product of social contract. Remember John Locke. So got the idea about society, their understanding of society. So अगर बोलेगा कि अच्छा liberal के लिए society prior है या individual? What will you say? Individual is prior than society. Right? Society should not impose any any decisions on. Do you remember J.S. Mill, what he said? कि पूरा सोसाइटी और एक इंसान अलग है मान कहते हैं कि आपको इसी के साथ शादी करना है, इंसान दूसरे के साथ शादी करना चाहता है. Society has no authority to impose its decision on that individual. Do you remember? He talks about the entire humankind and one person a different idea. Then entire mankind has no authority to impose their decision on that man. Remember? Right. Now third you write. बोलोगे तो नहीं? भूल जाओगी? नहीं भूलोगे? पढ़ते रहोगे दो चार बार तो नहीं भूलोगे. भूलना इंसान का फितरत है. मैं भी भूलता हूँ. किसी स्टूडेंट ने ये बोला कि मैं भूल जाता हूँ. सर शोभित ने बोला. शोभित you told me that day ना सर मैं भूल जाता हूँ बार-बार चीजें. या इंसान का it's human nature that we forget basically. अगर नहीं बोले तो सोचो क्या होगा. हमारा दिमाग ही भ्रष्ट कर जाएगा. Fine. Shall but लिखिए liberal understanding of state or liberal understanding of state. For liberals, the state is a necessary evil. The state is a necessary evil. Necessary evil, necessary evil. It is necessary because it protects. It is necessary because it protects safety and stability in the society. It is evil because it is to control, it tends to control individual. किस तरह अगर इंडिविजुअल रिएक्ट न करे तो स्टेट का मन करे तो एक ही दिन में वो सारा फ्रीडम खत्म कर दे, राइट? सो इट इज इविल because it tends to control individual freedom. Individual enjoy, right? Individual enjoy more freedom in the state of darkness. Individual enjoy more freedom in the state of nature. I know what nature to explain करना पड़ेगा. I know कि आप लोग जानते हैं. Can I expect? You know what is the state of nature? Yeah, the state is a product of social contract. State is यहाँ पे state of nature और state अलग अलग पड़ा है ना, इसलिए आप समझे. But जो नहीं समझता है वो पढ़ेगा तो क्या है state of nature is state, right? The state is a product of social contract. State is a product of social contract, and it has only three responsibilities. It has only three responsibilities. First, to maintain order. Second, to provide security. And third, to enforce contract. To enforce contract. यही तीन काम स्टेट के पास. यार ये शोभित तुम ढूंढना, is it Thomas Paine who said the state is a necessary evil? Even see, you search it. मुझे याद नहीं आ रहा है who said necessary evil. क्या काम है स्टेट का? काम मेंटेन लॉ एंड ऑर्डर मेंटेन करना. दूसरा है सिक्योरिटी प्रोवाइड करना. तीसरा है एनफोर्स कॉन्ट्रैक्ट करना. कोई भी को सॉरी थॉमस पेन. इट्स थॉमस पेन. फाइन. नाउ Tom Paine, or liberals believe that the state should be a night watchman. Liberal believes that the state should be a night watchman. The state should be a night watchman. Manly, a night watchman. ठीक है, तो थॉमस पेन ने वो कहा, टॉम पेन ने ये कहा. What idea? A night watchman. State should be a night watchman. It was Thomas Paine who said state is a necessary evil. For Adam Smith, state is laissez-faire. Liberals believes that the state should be a night watchman. For Adam Smith, there should be a laissez-faire state. Laissez-faire state. Laissez-faire laissez-faire state. ये है स्टेट के बारे में इनका पर्सपेक्टिव. Got the idea? लिख लिया? Done?
Sir, what is the last line? There should be a.
There should be a laissez-faire state. Laissez-faire. F-A-I-R-E. Fair state. It means the state should do minimal intervention in the market.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Yeah, done, sir. Done.
Done. Khyati, Ashwin, Arjun. Done. आप लोगों ने कर लिया? Done. Okay. Now, तो हमने कर लिया. Now we will talk about idea of equality. The third point होगा तो fourth point होगा. Fourth point. Idea of equality. Liberal believes in two types of equality. A, equality of opportunity. Equality of opportunity. B, equality before the law. Equality before the law. Can you find this element in Indian Constitution? Equality of opportunity, Article 16. Equality before the law, Article 14. है ना? Fine. Equality of opportunity का मतलब क्या होगा यहाँ पर? You know, each person should be given equal chance. नहीं? What do you mean by equality of opportunity? Here, Nilesh, each person should be given equal chance. There should be no discrimination. Right? And what is equality for the law? Equality for the law is, there should be equality in the eye of law. There should be no discrimination between man, woman, rich, poor, street vendor, no, officials, no. In the eye of law, we all are equal. That is a equality before the law. We'll talk about it later, don't worry. But the idea, their idea about equality. Fine. Now come to their idea about चौथा था ना पांचवा का idea है about individuals or individual. Individual. Liberals place their faith on individual and their rationality and their reason. Individual place their faith on individual and their region. Individual is sober. Individual is sober in his conduct. On conduct. Right? Liberal place their faith on individual and their region. Individual is sober in his on conduct. Now आगे तो already कहा जा चुका है. He is a rational being. He is self-reliant. Now about freedom. 6. About freedom. Right? It is a core value of liberalism. 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 Liberals does not allow restrict freedom. Restrict individual on the name of morality, social value, religion, and so on. And so on. It does not allow, liberals does not allow restrict individual freedom on the name of morality, social value, religion, and so on. Individual is free. Right? ऐसा नहीं कि बेटा तुम मेरी जात में उस वहां शादी करोगे तो ऐसा हो जाएगा, होता है ना? No. Individual for liberals, individual is individual, and he or she is the best judge of his own interest. Fine. Now freedom हो गया. We talked about freedom. मैंने कुछ लिख के रखा था आप लोगों के लिए. Yeah. Now political economy. 6, 7. 7. Political economy. Political economy. Liberals believe in there is fair state, there is fair state, and free market capital. Free market capitalism. it advocates non-intervention of the government in economic affairs. It believes that the economy works best when it is left alone to the market. When it is left alone to the market. Yes. It believes that economy works best when it is left alone to the market. Market regulates itself. Market regulates itself. Right? Through an invisible hand. Invisible hand, and tends to equalize, and tends to equalize. लिखिए के बराबर ये क्लियर तो बताइएगा क्या दी दान नीलेश राघव शोभित अश्विन अर्जुन दान आप लोगों ने कर लिया
Done.
आप लोगों ने कर लिया ठीक है वेरी गुड नाउ एक चीज मैं आपको एक्सप्लेनेशन में तो बोला लिखवाने में भूलिएगा स्टेट के बारे में मैंने आपको लिखवा दिया राइट फॉर लिबरल्स स्टेट इज अ न्यूट्रल आर्बिट्रेटर Right. He said, yeah, state should be neutral. मैंने कहा था कि state should not be biased. State should be neutral, arbitrator. अगर चोर है कोई तो उसको पकड़े. मुझे क्यों पकड़ेगा? They should not be biased. तो मैंने जिस state के बारे में लिखवाया एक सेंटेंस जोड़ दीजिए यहाँ पर. अभी तक लिखा था मुझे याद आया कि वो चीज मैं भूल गया. Quality state का ही काम है ना यही state वाला है it should not be biased state should be a neutral arbitrator यहाँ पर for liberal state is a neutral arbitrator है ना वो क्या है what is the role of umpire in a game he is a neutral arbitrator जो चीट करता है उसको पकड़ता है what is a night watchman वो गलती जो गलत करता है उसको पकड़ता है तो state should be like behave like this state should be or for them the state is a neutral arbitrator right so do you play football not used to play yeah I used to also play football once upon a time when I was in master's and PhD. So what umpire does basically umpire allow everyone to play a fair game right? Laissez-faire, and intervenes minimal. Does empire intervenes in the game? It does only when there is some foul play, isn't it? There is some wrong thing. Otherwise, it plays as a neutral arbitrator. It works as a neutral arbitrator, an unbiased judge, an impartial judge. Right? So for them, the state should behave like that. Right? Yeah, clear? State as a neutral arbitrator. Shobhit, Raghav, Nilesh, Yapi, Ashwin, Arjun. क्या क्लियर? अच्छा, वो क्लियर है तो कोई बात नहीं, काम आसान हो गया आगे के लिए. Which open the ball? तो रिजवान है ना, वो तो गवर्नमेंट गवर्नमेंट की बात पर लिबरल आता है. Should be 8 point. Yeah, 8 point. Talk about government. For liberals, are limited representative and democratic government. Government is best. State क्या होना चाहिए? Government क्या होना चाहिए? Limited, representative and democratic government. It's best form of government. It should be based on consent, right? Constitution, and rule of law. है ना? सरकार ऐसे होनी चाहिए. A very representative, elected government. When we say democratic government, it is right on the basis of franchise. कोई दिक्कत है तो बताओ लिबरलिज्म समझने में. Government, government should promote tolerance, diversity. Right? Take all language. Government should promote diversity. Government should promote diversity, dissent, and moderation, and it should be tolerant. Right? So it's not किसी ने क्रिटिसाइज किया उसको पकड़ के जेल में डाल दो, नहीं. Right, Sheetal? If any person has criticized the government, then government should not put that person into jail. Fine. This time, let's change the battery. Yeah, am I audible? Dissent means, disagreement. एक और word यूज किया जाता है dissent के लिए, dissident. Dissent मतलब disagreement. Fine, government should promote diversity, dissent, disagreement promote करना चाहिए. अगर कोई मान लो न्यूज़पेपर क्या करता है? न्यूज़पेपर तो ऐसी बात लिखता है जो गवर्नमेंट के खिलाफ हो कुछ, है ना? अगर गवर्नमेंट ने कुछ एक्शन ऐसा लिया जो गलत है, न्यूज़पेपर लिखती है. Media, entire media is based on this. Media is not to support and praise the government. No. Media is to criticize the government policy. Opposition is supposed to criticize the government policies. Okay? Now you got the idea of liberalism. Basic idea of liberalism. Now if you look at the classical liberalism, which evolved from, कब evolve हुआ? एक आता है जिसको बोलते हैं feudalism to capitalism. Feudalism, capitalism. And it developed, it took approximately 300 years. 300 years. This ideology. The mid of 18th, 19th century, क्या होने लगा? Right? As you already know, that capitalism, resulted unprecedented inequality, unhumanness. Right? People are living in shanty town. Right? Working hour was so big, large, 14, 16 hours was a working hour, no holiday, exploitation. And what happened? There's another reaction to capitalism, that is socialism. You all know? You all know that? Opposition to capitalism, another set of group people prepared one idea that is called socialism. अब ये जो कैपिटलिस्ट जो इतने लोग थे, ये तो घबरा गए कि भाई क्या होगा, ये अगर सोशलिस्ट का आइडिया, इफ सोशलिस्ट गेट पॉपुलर, देन पूरा आइडिया ये खत्म हो जाएगा. Right? Now what socialist talks about the state should be under control. Right? We should smash the state and we should establish a dictatorship of the proletariat. Right? We should establish a dictatorship of the proletariat. Right? अब उसमें क्या होगा, सारा फ्रीडम खत्म हो जाएगा. Right? What happened? Due to severe criticism, right? The capitalists or liberals revised the idea. Liberals revised the idea. अच्छा, idea क्या revise किया? Right? That is equal to new liberals. New liberals revised the idea. What idea devised by the new liberals? If you look at the classical liberals, they thought that the state should not intervene into the market. Market should be free, right, to regulate itself. But new liberals said, no, the state should play an important role. Right? It's an animal role. Okay, what new liberals said, for classical liberals, the state, what should they say? A night watchman, a minimalistic. Right? A minimalistic, a night watchmanistic. But new liberal said that no, state should play a role. New liberals you can call modern liberals. Yeah, it is modern liberals. कैसे डील फॉर करेंगे, कुछ नया आइडिया दिया तभी तो न्यू लिबरल्स है, राइट? नॉट न्यू liberals, they were also called modern liberals, and they said the state should play very important. अब स्टेट क्या रोल प्ले करेगा? स्टेट शुड ब्रिंग लॉ. Right? The state क्या करेगा? एक कानून का काम करेगा कि there will be, a standard working hour. For example, 8 hours should be the standard working hour. And after that, if any workers involved into that work, then that worker should be paid accordingly. Depend as per the law. Then law should be made that okay, at least one day should be the holiday. Labor law. Then the state should do some welfare. Right? For example, individual should be free. Free होना चाहिए. ऐसा बंद करो क्या? बहुत ज़्यादा हो गया. Yeah. Classical liberals argued individuals should be free, but they question that should individual be free to die without food? Tell me. Should individual be allowed to free to die without food? क्या इतना फ्रीडम दे दिया जाए कि कोई अगर पढ़ ना सके तो ना पढ़े? राइट, कोई पार्लियामेंट पे सो रहा है, राइट, they said no, state should take positive role, right? State should, provide education, right? अगर poor है तो उनके बच्चों को दे. State should provide health, right? State should provide social. State should provide social security, right? State should provide jobs. Now you look at socialism में हम लोग पढ़ा है state काम क्या करेगी? You remember the feature of socialism? State को ये सब करना चाहिए. Now they brought some idea from socialism, right? And the new liberals argued नहीं, liberty तो होना चाहिए. Fine. जितना जो भी capable लोग हैं उनके लिए liberty तो चाहिए. They don't mind. They also believe in liberty, right? And they believe that जहाँ पर state कुछ भी रोल नहीं करता था, तीन ही काम था उनका. एक काम था maintain law and order, another work of the state was to provide security, and third work of the state was to enforce contract. Now, the state has to play a positive role to provide education, to provide health, to provide social security, to provide jobs, and that changed. Now, if you look at for classical liberals, market should be free. Market should be free. Now, positive liberals not be regulated. Have you heard about J.M. Keynes, who was a great economist of Britain? Right? Yeah, you're right. You are right. It was the context. Shobit is asking, sir, can it be right that new liberals were also influenced by the Great Economic Depression in 1929 due to laissez-faire practice? Now, if you look at, if you look at the Great Depression of 1929, it was not only the, free capitalism. There were several regions of Great Depression, right? War was there, colonialism was there, right? So and if you look at state was not involving into the welfare of the people. So, the new liberals, if you look at the new liberal focused on this idea that the state should go for the welfare, positive role, welfare. Right? It should do the social welfare and it should provide education, health, security, jobs. And since if you look at market, it is not that market can regulate itself. Right? State needs to regulate market. Right? लास्की ने कहा कि अगर मार्केट को रेगुलेट नहीं करेंगे तो मार्केट इतना बड़ा हो जाएगा कि ये सबको रेगुलेट करेगा and will be nothing. What Lasky argued, if you don't regulate market, what will happen? This corporate will regulate everything. So market needs to be regulated. Keynes, J.M. Keynes, क्या थी उस दिन Keynes के बारे में पूछ रही थी, right? Keynesian economy, right? क्या थी? We'll talk about Keynes. Yeah. It is a welfare state. Keynes argued that now you cannot let market alone, right? Because we have seen that we have left the market alone, and we have seen we have faced consequences. What are the consequences? The Great Depression. What are the consequences? The dehumanization, the inequality. Right? So we need to regulate market also. Now, the two central pillars of new liberals, one is to welfare, and that is called welfarist. एक तो वेलफेयर करना है आपको, वेलफेयर किसको करना है? जो कैपेबल नहीं है, right? There are poor people, there are working class, so working class should get free and the state should provide it. Working class should get, poor should, vulnerable class should get help. The state should, act. And there are two things was very instrumental as part of. This is the philosophy. Let's talk about policy. There are two incidents. One is US and one is UK. Have you heard about Liberalism report? Liberalism report. No, actually, Liberalism report was prepared by economists in UK, right? And Liberalism report, said that we have to fight against 5 giants, 5 things: illness, ignorance, disease, squalor, and want. State should fight about from 5 challenges. One is illness, ignorance, disease, squalor, and want. Sorry? Fourth one is squalor. Disease, squalor, ignorance, illness. Illness means job नहीं है किसी को, तो job देना पड़ेगा. Ignorance मतलब कोई ignored है, apartment पे सो रहा है, कोई देखने वाला नहीं है. State should take care of it. Disease, कोई बीमार है, right? और उसको health provide नहीं करने वाला. State should take care of health. Squalor को देखना पड़ेगा. Squalor का क्या मतलब होता है? SQUALOR. Can you see the literal meaning of squalor? SQUALOR. Squalor.
State of being extremely dirty and unpleasant.
Okay. So yeah, exactly. So when there is no sanitation, there is huge, dirty, huge, pollution. Then state should clean, take the sanitation work under direction. And then want. If people want something, I want education. People should get education. I want health. State should get health. Now, so 2 major pillars was welfare. State should give welfare to the people, and the state should regulate the market. So one was Liberalism report, and other was it would call New Deal Act. New Deal Act came in US, and it gave call to a big government. What is a big government? A government which can take care of many things. Your education, your health, your jobs, your care, your early childhood, your old age, your security, right? If someone is handicapped, then government should provide, right? So New Deal Act gave idea of big government. Now you see the early liberals, the classical liberals were talking about minimal government. They were talking about big government. So now here idea changed, right? But about liberty, liberty should be given. State should give liberty. So role of the state entirely changed here. What the idea? Neoliberal. Okay? Now, if you look at equality, अगर मैं बात करूं कि equality क्या होगा यहाँ पर? Time कितना हो गया? Time हो गया क्या? Now, if you talk about equality, new liberals talks about, classical liberals talks about equality of opportunity and equality before the law. You remember? I have talked about equality of opportunity and equality of law, equality before the law. अच्छा, new liberal क्या कहेगा? No, equality of opportunity is not fine, because if you look at the society, right, there are people who are more deprived socially and educationally. Then you should give priority to that people. They will go for affirmative action. What is this? Affirmative action, not a good action for the poor. Right? They will strive for the welfare. Right? So even if you look at Indian Constitution has been framed under this perspective. This was the very dominant perspective in 1940s, 1950s, till 1960s. Modern welfare state ideology, that is called modern liberals ideology. And Jawaharlal Nehru was a student of Harold Lasky. Right? So even if you look, Ambedkar went to US and also later on in UK to study. Ambedkar was highly influenced by the welfare state. Now if you look at the DPSP, entire DPSP is talking about welfare state. Yeah, making some sense? ठीक है? पता चला? Right? हमारे पास 15 मिनट है. तो लिखवा दूं क्या? या मैं कल ही लिखवाऊंगा? राइट? अच्छा, तो अगर मैं एक्सप्लेन कर देता हूँ. ये थोड़ा डिपार्चर पता चला? क्यों डिपार्चर हुआ? Departure because challenges was coming from socialism. Challenges was coming from socialism, and that is why liberals revised the idea. Right? And who was the pioneer? J. Smith. He divided action into two parts: self-regarding and other-regarding. So self-regarding, smoking is self-regarding, but putting bugs, that क्या बोलते, but बोलते क्या बोलते, but बोलते शायद. But anyway, it's not self-regarding. It made a very much different, right? So you can smoke, but you can put this at the proper place. You cannot, spread dirtiness anywhere, right? You can run the factory. But you cannot give wage as per you wish. No. You give wage is other regarding action. Giving wage is other regarding action. You should give wage as per the market rate. For example, right? थोड़ा पता चला? Now थोड़ा सा फिर से हम बात करते हैं. Yes. समझाऊंगा नहीं, आपके लिखवाना शुरू कर दूंगा. I'm talking about again man, society, state, और क्या सबके बारे में इक्वालिटी है. Rights, individual, freedom, yes, freedom. Yeah, political economy. That we need to discuss. जो मैंने already classical liberal के perspective के हिसाब से we have already discussed. Now, how these modern liberals can look at man, society, state, equality, rights, freedom, individual, political economy, government? Question has come. In 2008, US introduced some regulations. Yes, you are right, Ashwin. When market destabilizes, then the state try to regulate it. It happens all the time. Right? For example, during the COVID-19, if you can see, market was very fragile, market was in very fragile situation. Right? In that condition, if you can see, state has given lots of loan to the corporate. Did you observe? Indian government has given lots of loan to corporate. नहीं पता है अडानी कितना पैसा रखा हुआ है एसबीआई का? हम 12,000 करोड़। किसका पैसा है? आपका पैसा है, मेरा पैसा, जो बैंक में है ना, वही पैसा है। बैंक पैसा प्रोड्यूस नहीं करती है, एक्सेप्ट आरबीआई। बैंक इज अ मीन्स टू ट्रांजैक्ट, बैंक इज अ मीडियम, राइट? मेरा पैसा उठा के किसी कॉर्पोरेट को देती है, isn't it? Anyway, now how this modern liberals will talk about this point. You know, here you can see they are actually injecting some idealism into the classical liberals. For example, for modern liberals, man is, as Aristotle also believed that man is a social animal, right? So, man and society both are coterminous, coexistence. It is not that man is prior and society is later, no. Right? Both coexist each other. Right? It's fine man is a rational being, but it is not separate from society. It is very integral to the society. Who? Man. Right? It is not prior to the society. Got the idea? Now come to society. Right? आज अभी बताया कि man क्या है और ये बड़ा ही, और since man has received many things from society, man receives language, man receives value, belief, many things we learn from society. At the same time, we have to read to the society that they believe. Society contributes a lot in the human development. Therefore, it is our responsibility to do the society, isn't it? Remember Aristotle, what Aristotle talks about. Man is a political animal and he should engage into politics. And that's why that man can be called citizen. Otherwise, all were non-citizen. So we should contribute to the society. Got the idea? Now come to the state. The state should be minimal. A state should play a positive role for the welfare of the people. Right? A state should, empower vulnerable people, working class, poor people. A state should provide education, health, shelter, job, securities, and so on to the people who are unable to do that. Right? If the state will not play that role, then that individual will not realize true freedom. They will not realize true freedom. Now come to equality. What they believe on equality. Like liberals, they also believe equality of opportunity and equality before the law. But for a twist. Equality of opportunity is okay, but for a vulnerable class, we should give some positive discrimination. Equality of opportunity is okay, but we should give some positive thing. For example, reservation. UPSC है, UPSC में equality of opportunity है, but इसमें यहाँ क्या clause लगाया गया है कि थोड़ा सा सीट जो है वो कोटा रिजर्व किया गया है किसकी? vulnerable community के लिए, SC, ST. Right? So they believe that equality of opportunity is good, but we should give, or a state should provide some positive discrimination. Got the idea? Now, equality before law. Equality before law is good, but we must take care, right, the circumstances of that person. For example, if man and woman both cannot be equal. Have you heard about equal protection of law? So all women should be treated equally, man should be treated differently. Transgender should be treated differently. Juvenile should be treated differently. ऐसा नहीं कि all equality before law तो man को फांसी चढ़ा दो, ठीक है? शीतल ने एक मर्डर किया तो इसको भी फांसी, और मैंने अगर if I'm a serial killer, I have killed 10 people, then मुझे भी फांसी. बोलता है कि नहीं, equal protection of law should be there. What the idea? So they believe that equality of opportunity should be there, but there should be some positive treatment to the vulnerable people, right? Positive compensation. Fine. I'm making sense, right? They believe that equality before the law, ठीक है, but we should also go for equal protection of law, right? Fine. So ऐसा नहीं कि अगर मान लो इक्वालिटी बिफोर लॉ है, प्रिजन है, मैन और वुमेन को एक ही प्रिजन में डाल दो, that is equality before the law. No, a woman should be treated differently than the man, right? For example, you have metro, ऐसा नहीं कि सारा ऐसे छोड़ो and लिख दो, that's equal opportunity. जो पहले घुसेगा वो पहले बैठेगा. For classical liberals, modern liberals कहता है कि नहीं, there should be some seat that should be reserved for women or any old age person or any person who needs more than the you. Have you been to metro? एक सीट पे लिखा रहता है offer this, who needs more than the you. दो सीट पे ऐसा रहता है seat, right? And there are few seats for old age person. That is modern liberals approach. This is an equality, equal protection of law. It is not equality before the law or equal opportunity. पता चला? ख्याति, making some sense? Ashwin, Arjun, Raghav, Shobhit. Making some sense? Okay. Now come to rights. Now, okay, right to life, liberty, and property is fine. But there should be some socio-economic rights. What rights? Socio-economic rights. There are people who are unable to enjoy rights. I'm a poor person, right? Unable to access education. Right? So you cannot say, okay, you are free to access your rights. No. Right? Individuals should have some socio-economic rights. Right? For example, right to get a quality education, right to get quality health, right to pollution-free air, right to pollution-free water. Right? आप बोलोगे आप फ्री सांस लोगे. You are free to take breath. Oxygen is everywhere. No, man. The entire industry and and the vehicle system are polluting. Poor has no role in polluting the air. I'm telling you. But poor are the most victim of breathing bad quality of air. The rich people have brought and bought good quality of machine which can filter air. You know, अब एक वैसा मशीन आएगा, घर में रख दो, your air will be fresh. It can filter your air. Yeah? Stop it. But poor cannot buy that, cannot afford that. Now this kind air filter कहते हैं इसको machine. Yeah, right. This air, if you see Delhi temperature, it went to 49. It went to 49. Now all rich have 2 or 4 AC, even AC for their pets, right? But poor don't have. Now, so you can say, okay, you have right to AC में रहने के लिए आपका अधिकार है, You have right to enjoy AC, but how can I buy AC? You have right to fly in air from Delhi to Gwalior or Delhi to Tirunelveli. No money, none. No money. That is my right. So, modern liberals said certain socio-economic rights should be provided by the state. Right to education, you can see Article 21A in the Indian Constitution. Right? For example, if you see the Article 15, Clause 3, state should provide some special for women and child. Article 15(4), right? The entire DTC is socio-economic rights, equal pay for equal work, right? The state will strive to minimize economic inequality, right? So they said that socio-economic rights should be protected by the state, right? So you have also civil and political rights, but you should also have socio-economic rights. Am I making sense? Right? Now come to individual. Right? Okay, so but they are very tied to the society. Right? They should do some sacrifice for the sake of society. How can you do sacrifice? You can pay tax. Right? You can pay tax. So if your income is 3 lakh, you pay tax accordingly. If your income is 2 lakh, you pay tax accordingly. If your income is 4 crore, you pay tax accordingly. Isn't it sacrifice? Right? So since we reach society, right, and it should impose progressive taxation. 3 lakh tax लो, 10 लाख है 20% टैक्स लो, 5 करोड़ है 30% टैक्स. The state should impose progressive taxation, or individuals is tied to society. What the idea? Fine. Making some sense? Now, modern liberals on how can you get freedom? A positive freedom. In a classical liberal, freedom means no one should come and intervene into you, in your affair. That means absence of external interference. Nahin. In classical liberal, neither society, nor state, nor religion, nothing should come and intervene in your affair, individual's affair. That means, what does it mean? Can I say in another word? Absence of external interference. That is classical meaning of liberty. Here, no. If you are poor and you say कि मुझे छोड़ दो free, नहीं, you should be given shelter. If you say I'm illiterate, I mean you cannot claim that I should be free. No, state will come and provide you job. कोई बेगा बॉन्ड है, मान लो कि कोई जॉब ही नहीं कर रहा है, बोला कि नहीं I'm not free. No, state will come and give you job, right? And you should do it, right? The state will come and provide education, and through education and through health, you can realize your freedom, right? In absence of education, in absence of health, good health, you cannot, exercise your freedom truly. So they give example of political economy means state come and regulate market. The state will impose progressive taxation, right? It will not allow free market capitalism. Right? Now come to the government. Government should be welfare, not minimum. Government will work for the weaker section of people. Making some sense, right? थोड़ा अंतर है इनमें. Yeah, they do. They believe. कुछ ऐसा है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल लिबर्टी वैसा ही है, बट लिबर्टी में थोड़ा स्टेट का रोल बढ़ गया है. वहां पर भी रिप्रेजेंटेटिव गवर्नमेंट है, यहाँ पर स्टेट का रोल बढ़ गया है. State should be, or government should be, welfare government. Government will be representative, democratic, but it would be welfare, a developmental. Right? It will promote development, especially for those who are at the bottom of the society. It believes in representative government. It believes in individual freedom, but also promote freedom for those who are at the bottom layer of the society, vulnerable class. Right? And it's fine. Achha, you talked about justice. Classical liberals believe in distributive justice, merit. They believe in redistributive justice. What is redistribution? The state will and will distribute among the people in form of infrastructure, in form of health, in form of education, in form of, PDS, ration, and other welfare scheme. So they believe in redistributive justice.